Okay, so if you're building with AI, or honestly even just trying to understand it, it feels like you're drowning in a sea of different models, right? But what if I told you that the single most important choice you can make really just comes down to two options? Yep, that's what we're breaking down today. Let's dive in.
It really all boils down to one fundamental question. Are you going to use a large language model, an LLM, or a small language model, an SLM? And trust me, this is not just some technical detail for engineers. Nope. This choice is going to define the cost, the speed, the privacy, and pretty much the entire capability of whatever you're building.
The best way to think about this is to picture an AI toolbox. Inside, you've got two main tools. And here's the key thing. They aren't competing with each other. Not at all. They're built for totally different jobs. So let's pull out the first one. All right, first up, we've got the LLM, the large language model. This thing is the heavy machinery. It's the industrial strength power tool in your box. Imagine a massive, almost all-knowing research library. We're talking billions, sometimes trillions of parameters, all trained on this gigantic slice of the internet. And all that training gives it the horsepower for some seriously advanced reasoning, and for tackling incredibly complex problems.
So when do you actually pull this beast out of the toolbox? Well, you're going to grab the LLM when the job requires some serious deep thinking. We're talking about high-level reasoning, cranking out creative long-form content, running these complicated enterprise workflows, or even generating code from scratch. If you've ever used something like GPT-4 or Claude Opus, yeah, you've seen an LLM do its thing.
Okay, now for a second tool, the SLM, the small language model. So if the LLM is that heavy machinery, think of the SLM as like a zippy specialized cordless drill. It's all about speed and efficiency. It's designed to run right there on your device, using hardly any resources. It is lean, it is fast, and it is laser-focused. And when do you grab this tool? Well, you go for an SLM when you need nearly instant responses, when you want to keep your costs way, way down, or for any AI that has to work directly on your phone or some other device, even if it's completely offline. Models like Phi-3, they're perfect examples. They're built for those high-throughput, private tasks that happen right on the edge.
Okay, so we've met our two tools. Now let's put them side by side, a real head-to-head comparison. This is where we're going to really see the trade-offs you're making when you decide to go with one versus the other.
This table breaks it all down so clearly. Let's start with reasoning. See, LLMs give you that deep, multi-step, let me think about this kind of intelligence. SLMs, on the other hand, they are all about fast, structured tasks. Get in, get it done. Now, maybe the biggest difference here is infrastructure. An LLM, that needs a massive, powerful GPU farm somewhere in the cloud. But an SLM, it can literally live right on your laptop. And of course, that flows right into cost. LLMs are just more expensive for every request you make, while SLMs are crazy cheap to run, especially at a huge scale. And finally, customization. You're usually going to fine-tune an SLM for one very specific job, while an LLM is kind of a generalist right out of the box.
So where do you actually see these things in the real world? Well, LLMs are the big powerhouses, right? They're the brains behind those super complex AI copilots, autonomous agents, and systems that can, analyze a 1,000-page legal contract in seconds. But SLMs, they're the quiet specialists that you probably use a dozen times a day without even realizing it. They're powering features in your mobile apps, in your smart home devices, and all those little quick reply chatbots.
Okay, so after seeing all that, the question just pops into your head, doesn't it? Which one is actually better? It really feels like we have to pick a winner here. Is it the powerful, super intelligent LLM or the speedy, efficient SLM?
But here comes the twist, and it's a good one. The smartest, most sophisticated systems being built today, they don't choose. They ask a much better question. Why not both? See, the real cutting edge isn't about picking one. It's about building hybrid systems where these two tools work together, each one playing to its own unique strengths.
And this is the big idea, right here. Today's gold standard isn't about choosing one or the other. It's about having a powerhouse LLM in the cloud, doing all the heavy lifting and the deep thinking, but it's supported by this whole fleet of nimble little SLMs out there on the edge, on your actual device, handling all the tasks that need to be lightning fast and totally private.
So let me show you how that actually works in practice. So first, you send a request.
An SLM living right there on your device acts like a smart bouncer at a club. It pre-checks and filters your input, looking for private info or just making sure it's relevant. Then, once the data is all cleaned up, that's when it gets sent to the big brain LLM in the cloud for the deep analysis. And finally, and this part is really cool, another SLM can take that super complex answer from the LLM and compress it down into a fast, simple response that gets delivered right back to you. It's truly the best of all worlds. You get efficiency, security, and intelligence.
So, after all that, what's the big takeaway? What should you remember? It's actually really simple, but it's also incredibly powerful. It all comes back to that toolbox, knowing which tool to use for which job.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. Neither LLM nor SLM is better. They are different tools for different purposes. See? The whole debate about which model is better is it's the wrong question. It's about understanding that these are fundamentally different tools, designed for completely different tasks. The real skill is knowing which one to grab.
So, let me give you a simple decision framework you can take with you. Need raw intelligence and deep reasoning? You reach for an LLM. Easy. Need speed, low cost, and ironclad on-device privacy? That's a job for an SLM. But what if you want to build a truly robust, scalable, and secure AI ecosystem? Then you use both. That's the secret. So, I'll leave you with this thought. The next time you use some amazing new app on your phone, one that feels like magic, ask yourself, is this magic being powered by a giant brain hundreds of miles away in a server farm? Or is it a tiny little brain working right here in my pocket? And now you know, the answer is, very likely, both.